So the question lingers. Was Kim Zolciak unknowingly linked to that money, or is she just the biggest name caught in someone else's war? Just when it seemed like this case couldn't get any messier, the accusations started flying from both sides. In a sharp turn, Kyle Mowitz fired back at his estranged wife, accusing her of having an affair of her own. Both deny any wrongdoing. But at this point, the courtroom feels less like a place for truth and more like a battlefield for revenge. Every filing, every motion, every headline adds fuel to an already roaring fire. The court has yet to make any rulings on custody or finances, leaving everything, from their children's future to the fate of that $100 million trust, hanging in the balance. But while Kyle and Jillian's lawyers spar over who betrayed whom, Kim Zolciak remains caught in the crossfire. She isn't a spouse in this case, yet somehow her name is stamped across documents that could decide who walks away with millions. And as if that weren't enough, Kim's own life is unraveling in parallel. Her bitter divorce from former NFL player Croy Bierman is still unresolved, with both demanding full custody of their children and accusing each other of financial recklessness. Two legal storms, one she can't escape and one she never asked to join. It's a surreal overlap. One woman fighting to protect her own family while being dragged into the legal war of another. As one insider put it, she's fighting one custody battle at home and another one by association in court. And if you think the chaos ends there, it doesn't. Because what came next, the public fallout, the headlines, and the online whispers, pushed this private divorce into full-blown spectacle. The internet exploded the moment the words "high school parking lot subpoena" hit the press. Fans couldn't believe it. Kim Zolciak, served in public, caught in the middle of a stranger's $100 million divorce. It sounded like the plot of a Bravo special that never aired. Social media lit up with theories, memes, and endless debate over whether she was being unfairly targeted, or whether Jillian Green's instincts were dead on. Comment sections became courtroom galleries. Some fans defended Kim, saying she's always been an easy tabloid target, a woman whose fame makes her the perfect scapegoat for someone else's heartbreak. Others weren't so forgiving. They connected the dots between Kim's famously lavish lifestyle, the designer clothes, the luxury travel, the financial headlines, and the gifts mentioned in Jillian's court filings. Even entertainment outlets jumped in, tracing timelines, comparing filings, and speculating whether Kim's name would appear again when the next round of documents drops. Every new article blurred the line between gossip and evidence, making it hard to tell if this was drama for show or a glimpse into something far more real. In the end, one thing's certain. Kim Zolciak may have left reality TV, but reality hasn't left her. And as cameras wait outside courthouses instead of confessionals, this story proves that sometimes reality TV has nothing on real-life courtroom episodes. If you thought this was wild, wait until you see who gets called to testify next. Hit that subscribe button, because this saga is far from over, and the next twist might be the biggest one yet. October 11th, 2025. A normal afternoon outside a quiet Georgia high school turns into a scene straight out of a courtroom drama. Cameras weren't rolling. There was no Bravo producer in sight. Yet for Kim Zolciak, it felt like the return of a Real Housewives episode she never agreed to film. One moment, the reality TV star was reportedly picking up her kids. The next, a man approached her in the parking lot, not with an autograph request, but with legal papers. A subpoena. And not just any subpoena. One connected to a $100 million divorce scandal that had nothing to do with her marriage. Or so she thought. It's a bizarre twist even by reality TV standards. A high school parking lot, a surprise legal summons, and a financial mystery involving another couple's collapsing empire. The documents demanded that Kim appear for questioning, bringing, with her private communications, receipts, and even travel records tied to a man she wasn't married to. For a split second, she must have wondered if someone was pranking her. But this wasn't a show. It was a court order, and it opened a door to a legal storm that would soon pull her name, her reputation, and her past headlines back into the spotlight. Because when you're Kim Zolciak, even silence becomes news. And this time, the question wasn't about fame or family. It was about money, and where exactly it came from. And that's where the mystery begins. Why was Kim suddenly pulled into another couple's bitter $100 million divorce? And what secrets did the subpoena suggest she might know? To understand why Kim Zolciak's name ended up in the middle of a $100 million courtroom feud, you have to know the players. Kim, of course, is no stranger to drama. The 47-year-old former Real Housewives of Atlanta star has lived much of her life under the camera's glare. Luxury, chaos, love, and lawsuits, all rolled into one long Bravo highlight reel. Once known for her bold attitude and catchphrases, she's now fighting her own legal battle with ex-husband Croy Bierman. But this time, the headlines have nothing to do with her divorce. They involve someone else's. Enter Kyle Mowitz, a wealthy Georgia businessman whose quiet life was shattered when his wife, Jillian Green, filed for divorce earlier this year. He's the kind of man who usually keeps things private, business ventures, assets, family trusts, until now. Jillian, on the other hand, isn't staying quiet. She claims her estranged husband has been hiding more than money, and she believes Kim Zolciak may be holding the clues. Court filings show Jillian believes gifts, trips, and even possible payments flowed from Kyle to Kim through a maze of business entities and luxury spending, all while a massive family trust worth over $100 million sat in the background. The subpoena wasn't about curiosity. It was about proof. Proof that could change the direction of Jillian and Kyle's divorce, and possibly expose how their fortune was handled. Online, fans were quick to ask the obvious question: was Kim's connection with Kyle purely friendship, or something deeper that blurred the line between personal and financial? For now, no one knows. But what's clear is that the subpoena has turned Kim from a reality TV personality into a key witness in a very real, very high-stakes courtroom drama. One that could rewrite how a $100 million marriage fell apart. On September 30th, in the quiet suburbs of Georgia, Kim Zolciak's world took another unexpected turn. She was officially served with a subpoena, the kind that doesn't just demand answers, it demands evidence. The order required her to appear for a deposition on October 15th and bring along private records, financial documents, receipts, and even proof of communication. To anyone else, it would sound like an ordinary legal request. But in Kim's case, it was personal, invasive, and tied to a $100 million divorce that wasn't her own. Imagine being pulled into someone else's marital war, asked to hand over messages, travel plans, and financial details, all because one spouse believes you know where the money went. That's exactly where Kim found herself. The subpoena listed everything from gifts and business payments to any travel she might have shared with Kyle Mowitz, the man at the center of his estranged wife's accusations. It even demanded records about any and all financial relationships. But Kim wasn't staying quiet. Through her attorney, she fired back, calling the demand unreasonable, oppressive, and meant to annoy and embarrass her. In other words, she believed the entire thing was a setup, an attempt to drag her name into someone else's financial mess for headlines and humiliation. Still, the question remained. Why did Jillian Green, Kyle's estranged wife, believe Kim had anything to do with their $100 million trust? What did she think Kim knew? And what kind of proof was she hoping to find buried in those receipts? Because, if Jillian's claims were true, this wasn't just about jealousy or rumors. It was about tracing millions through luxury trips, mysterious gifts, and whispered connections that could expose more than anyone expected. Jillian Green isn't pulling punches. She wants everything. Every call, every text, every trip. Every dollar that may have changed hands between her estranged husband and Kim Zolciak. In her filing, Jillian demanded all records of communication, any proof of financial exchanges, and even details of travel arrangements, where they went, who paid, and what was spent. It's the kind of deep dive that suggests she's not just curious. She believes money was moving behind her back. Her lawyers called for evidence of gifts, expenses paid on Kim's behalf, and any loans or payments made through Kyle or his businesses. Essentially, Jillian wants to follow the paper trail of every dollar tied to her husband's fortune. And she believes Kim might be holding pieces of that puzzle. Her accusations cut right to the heart of the matter. Jillian isn't just alleging infidelity. She's hinting that Kyle may have funneled marital wealth into gifts for Kim, possibly disguised as business or personal expenses. And when that kind of claim surfaces in a divorce involving a 9-figure trust, the implications are explosive. For Jillian, it's not about handbags or vacations. It's about a $100 million empire she says was built during their marriage and quietly moved into a trust before she could see it. And Kim? She's caught in the middle, her name attached to financial documents that could either clear her completely or open a new chapter of scrutiny she never asked for. Because Jillian's message is clear. She's not accusing Kim of simply receiving presents. She's suggesting those gifts might have been carved from the very fortune that once funded her family's life. And if that's true, Kim's subpoena might just be the beginning of something much bigger. Kyle Mowitz, the man at the center of all this noise, isn't staying silent either. Through his lawyer, he's made it clear. Whatever connection he has with Kim Zolciak began after he and Jillian were already separated. In his team's eyes, dragging Kim into their divorce is nothing more than a distraction. A sideshow meant to stir headlines, not reveal truth. His attorney, Marvin Solomiani, didn't mince words when speaking to Us Weekly. He said Jillian's move to subpoena Kim was highly unnecessary, insisting that the court filings already show their client's side of the story accurately. "We're not going to litigate this in the media," he added, but that's exactly what happened. Because once Kim's name appeared in the paperwork, the story practically wrote itself across social media timelines and gossip headlines. Still, the tension runs deeper than what either lawyer admits. To some, this feels like jealousy, a bitter ex-wife trying to embarrass her former husband and the famous woman now caught in his orbit. But to others, it looks like strategy. Then a calculated attempt to uncover a paper trail of hidden money disguised as generosity. And in a case involving a $100 million trust, jealousy and accounting can look a lot alike. The question haunting everyone now isn't just when Kim and Kyle's connection began, it's why Jillian is so sure that Kim is the missing link in a financial mystery she can't quite prove. And as both sides dig in, that mystery only deepens. Deep inside the court filings lies the real heart of this story: the money. Jillian Green claims that back in 2021, while her husband was allegedly engaged in an extramarital affair, he quietly built something powerful: a family trust. On paper, it looked like just another financial move, the kind wealthy couples make to protect assets. But in Jillian's eyes, it was the beginning of her husband's great vanishing act. According to her, Kyle Mowitz transferred the majority of their shared assets into that trust, properties, investments, and accounts, long before the divorce ever hit the courts. And by the time she realized what had happened, the fortune was gone from her reach. In her words, she was left in the dark about how their wealth was being handled and who was really benefiting from it. That trust, Jillian says, holds over $100 million, not a small number. And that's where Kim Zolciak's name suddenly becomes more than tabloid fodder. It becomes a potential clue. If any of those funds were used to buy gifts, cover travel, or pay expenses tied to Kim, it could change the legal outcome of Jillian and Kyle's entire divorce. To Jillian, Kim isn't the villain. She's a witness, maybe even a key to finding out where the money went. But to Kim, it's an accusation that feels unfair, humiliating, and far removed from her own struggles. The irony is hard to ignore. While Kim is battling her own messy divorce, she's now being tied to another family's financial implosion, one that may expose the secret path of a $100 million fortune.